So we'll go ahead and get started. We're really excited today to launch. This is our third Coffee with Waypoint. And just to give everybody a little bit of understanding of how we started this is we are very fortunate when we work with our customers to work with different partners. And really, it's like an ecosystem of partners that are there to support the providers. So we were fortunate enough to meet MediaOne and the team at MediaOne through SRI management. So we have a combined customer. So the whole thought behind Coffee with Waypoint is we all offer some type of service to senior living, but what we wanted to do was try to bring that together to more of a discussion on how this all works together for senior living marketers and sales. So really, so far it's been very successful, and I think we're trying to think about how do we serve our partners more holistically than separately. So for us, that's really important. So that's how Coffee with Waypoint was born, was how do we take these multiple vendors that are working to support you with your strategic initiatives, and then how do we go ahead and support you? They're coming in now. Here comes Wade. Oh, Wade's joining. Yay. Awesome. Thanks for your patience, everybody. There were quite a few registrants, and we might have to come up with a different way for the registration link to make it easier, maybe. Hey, Wade.
Hey.
Welcome. We're just getting started, so I'm going to jump in. We're recording. So again, just for those people that just joined, we started Coffee with Waypoint so we could take a holistic view for our customers to get, well, working with our partners, we're in silos, right? So we offer different things and we do different things to help our partners with their strategic goals, their marketing goals, and their sales goals. And what we wanted to do is put a series together that helped introduce topics, but that related, and then help you think about it more holistically. So welcome to Coffee with Waypoint. We're really excited about it. This is our third. It's gone really well. And today we have Jason Kay and Jim Starr as our guests today. And Wade just joined. We met them through our partnership with SRI Management, Senior Living. So we're super happy to have them there to help bring some insights into geofencing. I hope you learned something today, and I hope that you find that this webinar is really meaningful. So the key takeaways we hope you were able to take away today are really, what is geofencing and why should you leverage it? And they're going to talk about use cases and best practice and weave in the difference between brand awareness and lead generation, and how geofencing fits into that. So, and then give you some great use cases that you can look at. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and just ask the question, or if you want to put it in chat, Peggy on our team has been kind enough to monitor that. So we're happy to take your questions. We'd like it to be more conversational and would like it to be more meaningful for you. So if you would like to, that would be great. And I think it's really important that we introduce the speakers here, just so you understand where we come from a credibility perspective as well. So my name is Terri Sullivan. I am the co-founder of Waypoint. My co-founding partners on the call too, Brenda Lamone. And we really set out as adult daughters and people that have been in the industry for 17 plus years to really create a sales and marketing product that helped personalize the sales process and really met consumers where they are in their search journey. So about 2019, we released our first product. It's called the Navigator and our ProForms. So we basically have a customizable website concierge solution that we deliver into the market. And that's a combination of this Navigator, or what you might call a pop-up widget, and our top converting ProForms. So we build customized solutions for our customers. We have high converting digital ProForms. We integrate with top CRMs. We integrate best of breed technologies in the space. You as marketers are investing in technologies that you love, whether it's SiteStaff for live chat, or Rubric, or Threshold 360 for live tours, whatever it is, or virtual tours, whatever it is that you're investing in, we want to help you showcase that on your website. And then we also tracked for GA4, and we've basically been serving senior living, most recently skilled nursing, which I'm super excited about with Marquee Health, And then also we have home care customers as well as some professional service customers. And as I mentioned, the reason we're here today with MediaOne is because SRI Management is one of our combined customers. And we really believe that we need to support them as a whole, as vendors together in partnerships. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. So first I want to ask a question to everybody in the audience. Would people be kind enough to put into chat whether you're using geofencing now? That would be great. And then Peggy, if you could read them as they come in, and I'm going to turn it over to Jim and Jason to give you all an introduction to MediaOne, because it's really important to understand what they do and where they come from before we jump into the geofencing conversation. So Jim or Jason, do you want to take over and give a little intro to the company and yourselves?
Sure, I can do that. As you can see on this slide, we are based in Atlanta. We're a digital first marketing company. We're about 8 years old. And, one of the things that I think kind of differentiates us a little bit in the sense that I really feel like I lovingly call my colleagues on the digital performance team, I call them performance junkies. And that's because we're focused on getting those results. And in the case of senior living, it's providing quality traffic to the website, generating good leads that the sales team can convert. And so, that's where we come from, just in a thumbnail sketch. If you want to go to the next slide, we can do that.
Sure, absolutely.
So I know that we talked about the theme of this webinar is geofencing, but I just want to jump, maybe come back just more of a 30,000-foot view. Yes, geofencing is one tactic that you can use, but as you can see from this slide here, there's lots of different tactics at our disposal, and it really just depends on what your goals and objectives are. And so as you define your goals and objectives, we can come up with a tactic bundle that enables you to achieve those goals and objectives. I can say, well, for SRI, we're focused on paid search and a little bit of retargeting, simply because, it's all about getting those form fills. But if you were to say to me, you have a brand awareness problem, then, in addition to wanting to generate leads, then that's kind of where geofencing comes into the picture, because it is part of a brand awareness solution in terms of doing that. So when you look at the decision funnel, you're thinking about, you got basically three different phases of the funnel. In the awareness phase, people may be thinking about the fact that they need to maybe at one point put their mother or father into a community. But the goal of that brand awareness is this, as we say here, is to establish that brand position, that mind share, so that when they do finally want to get it, not finally want to, but ultimately end up in the consideration phase, you're on that short list of communities that they're looking at. And so, as we talked about just a minute ago, the tactics that we use at the awareness or the consideration phase or the purchase phase can be different. There is some overlap, of course, but paid search is really is more in that purchase phase of the funnel.
Hey, Jim, I know we're going to talk about brand awareness versus lead generation.
Yes.
But is there a formula that you see when you're working with a customer like Wade and SRI? Is there a formula that you're dedicating a specific amount to the brand awareness versus the lead generation? Does it depend on where the company is? I'd love to just talk about a little bit about that if you could.
Mm-hmm. There's no set formula. Again, it comes down to what the goals and objectives are. For SRI, it's all about quality website traffic, completed form fills, and then ultimately quality leads that the sales team can convert at a pretty high level. And so, but so I can't, there's no set thing there to say
Yeah,
certain percentage. You want
I'll
to chime
jump in a little bit. I didn't get to introduce myself at all, but I'm
Oh, so
Jason.
sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
in? Jason,
Um,
sorry, man.
I'm the performance junkie on our team, so I handle
He's the
all
head
of the
performance junkie.
head performance junkie. So I'm helping with all the media side of things. But yeah, I think it's just going to depend on where your community is located in terms of, is there a lot of competition? It's going to depend on, do you have any brand awareness to begin with? Is it a brand new community? That could determine whether you're focusing on brand awareness or you're trying to get into that consideration set, and then move down that funnel into purchase. So it just depends on the tactics that you need in that certain community. I think everyone's in a little different place, so there's no set formula.
Okay, good to know. We're going to cover some best use cases, so thank you for answering that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So geofencing, I just saw some of the chats come in. Looked like some of you had used the geofencing tactic in the past, but not presently using it. That sort of thing. I'd be curious, if you wanted to chime in, what were the reasons you were doing geofencing? I know what we think are the use cases for it, but I would be curious if there's anybody who wanted to kind of chime in and say, well, we did it because of X or Y or Z. That would be good to know. So again, we want this to be a conversation. So yeah, there you go. Marianne said brand awareness. Good. So yeah, that's what it's there for. And so as many of you know, you can, with geofencing, you can pick specific buildings or neighborhoods or addresses, areas. It can be anything that you want it to be, and target those people. We did some geofencing in the past with SRI. They had some neighborhoods that were functioned like feeder markets for their communities. I mean, in terms of their elderly population in those neighborhoods, and we thought it was a fertile place to have some ads appearing when people coming in and out of the fence, out of their neighborhoods. So, and again, because it is a brand awareness tactic, it did generate some leads. That's the ancillary benefit of doing these things. But it was there to just say, hey, when you're ready to make a decision to not live in your house anymore, we're here, and we're not far away. And so that's an example of what we did with SRI.
Yeah, I'll say, with geofencing, it's a live, basically, you think of it like drawing on a map where you want to target. So
Mhm.
if you want to target a specific neighborhood, you draw around that neighborhood. If you want to target a specific building, you draw around that, or it can get larger into like a zip code area.
Mhm.
So it gives you that kind of capability in terms of very specific targeting if it is a good need for that. So
Yeah.
you can complement your mailers with your direct mail with it. Like you could say, hey, we sent all these direct mail pieces to these addresses, and then target those specific addresses. And you can do that across many different devices. So it might not just be a mobile phone, but it could be a computer, but it could also be in a native ad or display ad or even a video ad. So like as you're in different places where you're researching, you might see the ads in various places.
Mhm.
So if you were to break this down and using the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid,
Yeah.
and you were to describe setting up a geofencing campaign for someone, could you be more specific? Let's pretend somebody's a novice on this call and has never done it before, and they hire you to do it. Could you walk through what maybe the top 5 steps are and what that actually looks like from a boots on the ground, how it happens?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jason, you want to take that?
Yeah. Basically, you would just define where the audience you would think you would want a geofence would be. So you would say, we want to, in this, like our use case with the neighborhood. So they said, this is the neighborhood we want to target. They sent us a map of these. This is a picture of it. And then on our end, we literally just went in and essentially drew a circle around that area that they provided. And
Mhm.
and then there's a little bit of making sure you have the right creative with that, which I think we'll talk about next. But
Mhm.
you would, provide some images or ads depending on the need, or video, and then we would run it. And that's pretty much it.
It's pretty simple. And just to not complicate things, because she just told us to use the KISS rule, but I did want to touch on something that is just a kind of a nuance in terms of geofencing, and that's geoframing. And I think it would be good for the audience to be aware of this tactic as well. And Jason, you want to give them a thumbnail sketch of how geoframing works?
Yeah. So geofencing is a live version of, like, someone's actively in this neighborhood with their device and therefore they're targeted, or they enter an area where we've targeted and therefore they're now able to be served ads. Geoframing would be using historical data. So someone was in this restaurant in the past 180 days to serve them an ad. So you can geoframe using historical data too. So you can go backwards and live with your geofencing.
Or if there were events, for instance, that
Yeah.
your target market would attend, you could even go back in time and target those people with geoframing. So just a little
It feels
nuance.
more creepy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely further, for sure. Mhm.
Jason, this is Brenda. There's an interesting question in the chat
Mhm.
that Libby asked about. She would
Yeah.
be interested to know how to separate the adult child influencer from the senior themselves when geofencing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. So
Mhm.
within our geofencing, we can add age ranges to that. So you can add additional targeting on top of the geofence itself. So you would target the area that you would want to target, and then you would say age ranges, I don't know, 25 to 54 or something like that. Or or you could do 65 plus as well. So you could separate it out that way with your creative
Yeah.
targeting.
You do it demo, and then like Jason mentioned, the messaging too, would be different.
Yeah.
Are there any other factors that you can factor in on top of age?
Yeah, I mean, you can get super granular.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a little different
Income?
market. Yeah, you can do household income.
Mhm.
You can, I mean, you can honestly layer on as many things as you want. Obviously, if you're doing a very small area, that makes it difficult to target because you're limiting your audience more and more as you do that.
Yeah.
So it would need to be a large enough area. But you could do interest-based stuff. So like people searching for assisted living, for example, or memory care, and you can start to hone in that way. And but again, it's like if you're doing like a small neighborhood, you probably can't layer that many things on top. If you're doing a larger area or a geo frame where you have lots of historical data, then you can start to layer more and more
Yeah.
on top of it.
You just get the audience gets too small, and then it's not stable. So you don't want to get it too granular.
So when I received the text, when I walked into a Radio Shack when they were in existence years ago, and I received a text with a promotion.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how do they know I'm in the store?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
exactly.
they were probably targeting every person that walked into that store, which
For
makes a
sure.
lot of sense for
Mhm.
them.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Right, would you like me to move on to the next slide and start talking about use
Unless
cases,
there's-
or do you have anything
Yeah,
else?
unless there's any other questions on this slide, we can move on.
Okay,
Just the second part, if I can jump in for a second to that
Mhm.
question from Libby was, is there a way for the community to obtain the information of the people who are being targeted at that point?
yeah, so we can so as the campaign runs, like we can see reporting on the, let's just say, clicks coming or impressions coming from those age ranges, for example. So we could see that kind of data in the report.
But there's not personal information is not
Yeah.
available. It's anonymous.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they
unless
would, they wouldn't get a name and a phone number, so to speak.
no,
not unless they fill out a form and
Okay.
yeah, we could tie back a little bit of data from that. Like
Mhm.
if they fill out the form from our ad, we could then pull in some of that kind of data.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions out there? For Jason or Jim on the basics of geofencing? Feel free to unmute too. We won't,
Yeah.
we won't make fun of you. We're a fun group here. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide then. So let's start talking about use cases. I mean,
Yeah.
talked about this early, guys. I mean, and not a lot of people know this about me, but I worked in billboard advertising for 6 years for 3M, and they had 30,000 bulletins across the country. And
Mhm.
a lot of everything we did was brand awareness. So like the buyer for Budweiser would come down into Miami and I would ride the market and show them all their billboards. So in some
Mhm.
sense, that whole brand awareness thing, it's like my background, right? Unless you're like a hotel and the hotel is one exit away on the Florida Turnpike and somebody's looking for a hotel that night. In most cases, it's brand awareness. But
Right.
interesting. So if you could run us through that, this is the brand
Yeah.
awareness piece and the lead generation piece. And what are the best use cases for geofencing?
Right. So I'm going to start with the middle bullet point because that's more broader. But so if you're in a market where, you're in a major market, major metro, a top 20 market or something like that, and you've got a lot of competitors in the marketplace. So I'm going to use a technical term. It's called clutter bust. And you feel like you need to have a higher profile for your brand. That's where you could do geofencing or you could do at the DMA level brand awareness tactics as well. So that's one option. That's kind of the higher level of when to think about it. And then more specifically, if you want to support a grand opening, there's two things that we think from a kind of more tactical perspective that we think it could work, and that's in grand openings, to support grand openings. And then if you're doing special events at the community, and you want to target a very tight area around the community, it makes sense to promote those events with this tactic. Jason,
How
you
long
have
does that take, Jim? Like if somebody, let's say they had a
Hmm.
community that was opening and they're doing a grand opening, how do they prepare for that? How long? When should they start preparing for that, when they're speaking with their digital marketing agency or their
Mhm.
support internally, however they do it? When should they start planning that, and what's the average length of a campaign?
Mm-hmm. So I would say, just a general rule of thumb, you've got your timeline of when that community is going to actually have their certificate of occupancy, and you know when you're going to be actually fully operational and able to take in residents. So I would say on a grand opening, a month on either side, to support it. Is kind of my general rule of thumb. After that, typically communities have a decent level of buzz about them while they're being constructed, just organically, if you will, because they're usually pretty visible from the road. People can see that they're being built and that sort of thing. So you get that natural buzz going. But as you move closer to the actual opening, it could be a tactic that you could do to let people know, hey, we're going to be able to take residents on such and such day, and we're going to have this big event, and just to build interest. And then the creative could switch post grand opening. You're still maintaining a higher profile, but you want to change your messaging on the month on the other side.
Open now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
On the highly competitive markets,
Mhm.
and if you were consulting with a senior living provider on the highly competitive markets, does that become could it become, or should it become part of their constant strategy, like to do a little bit of geofencing in those markets and have that as a, kind of I'm at a loss for words, but something that
Yeah.
they stay with and
Yeah.
keep doing monthly?
You
Right.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jason, you wanna touch on
yeah,
that?
I think you just need to make sure you have the right usage of the geofencing like we're talking about. You can use it year round and have, if you have events that happen or you're inviting people to the community on a consistent basis, then
Mhm.
it could be something where you use it. And, part of the geofencing tactic is making sure you know like where your audience is, like making sure that's like a valid place to target.
Right.
Mhm.
So we would use something like that, geofencing for that. And then we might use other tactics for brand awareness on top of those just to make sure we're getting the message out. So this one probably wouldn't be a singular tactic we would use,
Right.
and it would be combined with other tactics for brand awareness usually.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was thinking too. And then also you and you could have a geofence strategy in place if you felt like you had like decent little feeder markets, neighborhoods, et cetera, that really could be, have a lot of potential for move-ins. Then, but from just a general brand awareness perspective, uh, more tactics at the DMA level, at the larger market level, so that you're not just focused on specific areas with geofencing. You're actually covering the whole market or markets, whatever you think your best geo is for that buy. So, um,
And I know you guys said there's no formula for brand awareness versus lead gen, but I'm like a dog with a bone when I want to do something.
Yeah.
Do you find that there is any average there that people focus on, or you would recommend from a brand awareness versus lead gen? I know that, of course, some of the top 3 initiatives for senior living is recruiting, of course, occupancy,
Mhm.
and then, of course, longer term value of their
Yeah.
customer, right? Staying healthier
Right.
longer and keeping them healthy in the communities makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems
Yeah.
like it should be a little bit of both, right?
Well, if
Yeah.
you have the budget, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it also depends also on what ownership's thinking, and what if
yeah,
they are laser focused on leads only, that's
yeah,
going to limit your ability to do brand awareness. But I do think, there's a certain value in doing brand awareness because, there's a percentage of the market are in the market to do something and for any given product at any given time. So if you're focused at the top of the funnel a little bit, just to be make sure you're going to be in that consideration set of ultimately and then down to purchase, there is a value there. But sometimes, when you're dealing with ownership, it's all about the revenue, right? So, and it's more longer term, kind of
sure,
orientation. It's like,
sure.
okay, but yeah, I know that we need to focus on conversions and move-ins, but we think that there is some value in continuing to kind of fill that funnel at the top. So it's just you have to have the right mindset going into it. Yes, we're not going to generate hardly any leads from this. That's not the purpose of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we've
go
we've
ahead.
shifted the, you know, budgeting in terms of like, okay, is it a grand opening? That's probably going to be a higher brand awareness because there is
Hmm.
potentially little awareness of the community. So we might spend a higher volume on brand awareness tactics in the beginning,
Right.
shift to more leads as they're open. And then even in cases where they have a higher occupancy, like they're full or getting full, you might spend more money on brand awareness because they don't need those leads at that point, but eventually they will. And you don't
Hmm.
want to just like stop advertising at those points because things are always changing, as everyone knows. So,
Yeah. That's a good point. On the flip side of it, if you got to a certain occupancy rate that you felt like, we don't need as many leads. Well, I would not suggest, considering how competitive things are, just turning the turning the motor off, and going into neutral. You've always got to be, out there and generating that awareness of that you exist.
yeah.
Um,
And another thing we've talked about in the past has been like, okay, what if a new competitor opens in the marketplace like right next door to you? So
yeah.
that's another time where you might
Mhm.
focus more on brand awareness and making sure your name's out there and try to get ahead of the new community coming open
Mhm.
nearby.
Yeah.
You know, when we met to talk about the agenda for this and trying to create something that was meaningful, you guys had tipped me off on something that I thought was really interesting. So we have sales and marketing professionals on here right now, and they report into their senior leadership. You may
Mhm.
also be senior leadership on this call, but at the end of the day, you had told me about how to describe brand awareness in a way that actually might be received better
Oh,
than brand awareness. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because brand
oh,
awareness tends to, like you said, senior leadership might see it as, oh no, we just need leads, right?
mhm.
And it
Yeah.
should be a more holistic look at how
Mhm.
you bring your brand into the market and how you generate leads. But tell us what you called it. And
Oh, yeah,
that's great.
the phrase that we came up with, or the catchphrase, was local digital support. And
Yeah.
you know, and if you think about it, you know, it's similar to, you know, to go back to your outdoor analogy, it's doing, because we can do digital out of home, right? And so if you
Yeah.
live in a large enough market where there are those digital outdoor boards there, you can do that. And you know, and so yeah, it's to just, and we feel like that's, you know, does that kind of disarm the word out of the phrase or the label brand awareness? In some ways, yes, but yeah, local digital support.
I like that. Everybody write that down. Local
Yeah.
digital support. I thought that was good.
I,
Yeah.
I think we've seen, also there's a usage of communities going to other tactics that might be more traditional and not trackable and things like that. So it's like, well, instead of spending your money there, maybe try some local digital support. That's
Mhm.
maybe a better way to spend your money. So
Right.
we're always trying to come up with new ways to get that going.
Yeah, I have one more question on the geofencing use cases
Mhm.
as well. For example, this webinar, right, is a way to
Mhm.
get the message out about what you do and how you support the senior living industry. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, if they're doing the same type of webinars to educate consumers on what senior living is, the cost of senior living, all of those things, there's a lot around value-based care now, all of that. But can you utilize that to promote the digital content that you're creating, like live webinars and recorded webinars as well?
Yeah,
Or would
yeah,
you think that as a use case?
yeah, definitely. I mean, again, it's just like if you have the right area, you know where to target with that, then yeah, I think it's a good use case. And yeah, I was gonna throw out there like if you have like an ebook or something where it's like a little more leads based, but not a hard lead where it's like, download our guide to, assisted living or something like that, then that could be a good use case for geofencing as well. But that's somewhat more of a creative decision too. So.
Yeah, if you want
Makes
to, you know,
sense.
position yourselves as a thought leader in the town that you're in on senior living, yeah. I mean, and you're a resource for them as they move into navigating, which I had to do last year with my mom. You know, was
Yeah.
sort of like, okay, she was okay last month and not okay this month, and you know, we got to move her into a community, and that you know, you're caught a little flat-footed. So if a community wanted to provide that, be that resource, that would be a great way to leverage that and make yourself available to the population at large that may need to put their mom or dad in a place, you know. And so
It's such a unique sale. There
mhm,
really is nothing like it. It is more like a B2B sale where it's a committee decision. There's a
mhm,
larger ticket price. You know, it's all of
correct.
those things. And it's a value-based sale, which is really important. So anything that you can do to create thought leadership and help people educate themselves on making the decision easier, better, or more streamlined, or whatever it might be, totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't we ask a question to the audience? Is there anyone out there that would like to share maybe a use case that they used geofencing for that you could share with the group as collective knowledge? Or if you have any specific question for Jason and Jim, if you could put it into chat, that would be super helpful. And Peggy, if you could monitor it, that would be great. And feel
Of
free to
course.
unmute if you want to talk.
Mhm, mhm,
Also, I'll throw out a question around, it doesn't have to be geofencing, but what
Yeah.
are you doing any sort of what we would call brand awareness or local digital support?
Yeah.
Are you
And
doing any of that? Or
what's your tactic mix and that sort of thing? And just be curious what you guys are up to.
While they're thinking about that and putting that into chat, what would be some of the things you would list as other brand awareness techniques that they could utilize in conjunction with geofencing?
Mhm. Jason, you want to rattle off a few?
yeah, there's a
Besides
lot of
billboard advertising.
yeah. So yeah, I'll throw out digital out of home just because they're kind of talking about billboard advertising. So that would be your digital billboards. And that can be in a lot of different places beyond just billboards too. But
Yeah,
our native and display ads, those can just generally be targeted for awareness. Like you could just target in a market 65 plus age range, household income, 100K plus, whatever, that kind of targeting, you could do that with just native and display ads within your market. So that could be an awareness tactic.
sure.
Video. So we do a ton of video. So like YouTube ads, pre-roll, which is running on like websites,
Mhm.
connected TV. So we can run on your TV, but digitally and more targeted. Again, that's very awareness driven because you can't really click anything to go get a lead, but it's just going to drive awareness. And streaming audio, so on like Spotify, Pandora, those kinds of local radio stations that are digitally streamed, all of that can also be super, awareness based tactics.
Mhm.
A lot of what we're talking about and focusing on here is attracting the consumers themselves. Have you seen any customers utilizing any of these tactics to help promote the senior living community with their referral partners? So on the biz dev side, do you see anybody doing anything on developing partnerships and referrals or any way of targeting around that?
We haven't done that yet. But that's an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wade, not to put you on the spot, but is there anything you want to add here from SRI's experience and anything like that?
I think besides what we've discussed here, I think this has all been really good information from Jim and Jason. The only other thing I would say is that we really try to connect this to our CRM specifically. You might use a marketing automation tool or however you do that, but the ability to be able to attribute this through your sales cycle. So being able to watch each one of these channels. I know Jim has mentioned a few times that we are more lead gen focused than we are what do we call it? Local
Digital support focus.
Digital support, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a show me the money kind of guy, but I think being able to track and see this not just from the Google Analytics level, but to be able to track it through to how are your salespeople being able to make contact with the people that do come in from this? Are they be able to drive them into tours and eventually come and move into a very important part of the process of the digital marketing side?
I'm going to say that he was not a plant because this is crazy. So you didn't even know this, Wade, but next month, April, Coffee with the Waypoint and Friends is Welcome Home, CRM. And we're going to talk about tracking true lead source as well as re-engagement. And Emily's going to join us and she's going to talk about the advanced integration with Welcome Home and doing tracking. I swear he had no idea.
I had no idea it was coming. I will say Emily is dynamic. You will really enjoy it. She has a lot of insight into this area of attribution and really and the importance of source tracking. It'll be a great topic to cover and a good follow-up to what we're talking about today as well.
Yeah, that's what we thought. It would be a good one. And she was more than willing to do it. So I'm super happy about that. We still have to work out the agenda and figure out what we really want to cover. But in general, everyone that's on the call, please save the date. We'll be sending out a registration link. Whether you use Welcome Home or not, we're really going to be talking about tracking for success, right? One of the things that we know at Waypoint is we're a conversion tool on the website. We help convert the website visitors into the sales funnel, but we are not the lead source.
Right.
We are more of the marketing touch point. We're part of the wheel and the cog that makes everything go around. You know, you have Jason and Jim driving the traffic,
Mm.
coming to the website, then we're converting in at the website and converting into the sales funnel. So please put this on your calendar for next month, and please feel free to join us. And if you want to, if you're interested in getting more information from Jim or Jason, Peggy, if you would be kind enough to drop the link to the form into chat, we'd be happy to meet with you. I'm also happy to stay on if you want to learn more about Waypoint, but please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or you need anything, or even if you have a topic that you think in the industry is really important, because it's really about bringing connected partners together to support our customers. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, please feel free to reach out. You can put it in that form. There's a message area in the form, and it's literally one of our pro forms that our customers use. So you can get a feeling of what it's like to use the Waypoint product as well. And I think Peggy's already put it in chat. So if you want follow-up information, or you just want to meet with Jason or Jim or myself, feel free to fill that in, and we're happy to help. But we'll stay on for a few minutes in case anybody has any additional questions. But Jim and Jason, thank you so much
You're welcome.
joining for
Yeah.
this webinar and helping educate the industry on geofencing. I appreciate that.
Happy to do it. Thanks for the
Yeah.
invite to do
Yeah,
so.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
appreciate it.
Wade, thanks for joining today. I know you're busy, but what a nice thing to see you. So,
I enjoyed it. This is a great format. I'm looking forward to joining the next one.
well, Corey's convinced us we have to do coffee with Waypoint mugs, and we have to send them to our attendees, so we all get together with our coffee mugs. So
Yeah.
we're working on some
Cool
things
idea,
like that
yeah.
too. Yeah,
like
yeah.
All right, I'll order them. Got it.
Order them,
Done,
Brenda.
done and done, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We'll send out a recording to this too, because there were 44 people that registered, and it looks like we had about 12 or 13 attend. So we'll send those out, that recording out too, so everybody has a copy of that. And if there's anything we can do to support you, please let us know. Thank you all.